Hi everyone, welcome back to Crypto with Jess and Jade. I'm Jade and this is Jess. We're really happy with how our first video went last week, and we just like to thank everyone who watched it, liked it and subscribed to it, and we hope you do the same for our future videos as well. We've been lucky enough to have some friends that we've met who helped us just with some positive feedback and everything, so we'd like to thank them as well while we get this channel off the ground. On that note, I've spoken to a couple of people, and so has Jess since we released it, who have advised that one of the worst things we could possibly do is to shill projects. I want to clarify on both of our behalves that that is not the intention of our channel. So we're not going to be doing any paid reviews or promotions. We may certainly promote a project, but that will be something that we believe in, and it won't be necessarily giving you financial advice, but it will be just telling you our thoughts on any project that comes across our desk that we truly believe in. Anyway, on that note, today we are going to be discussing, obviously, the $10,000 mark that we smashed through. We're going to be talking about just what the price has done since then. There's been a lot of movement over the weekend. It's been so exciting. We've had the mental shift and the change in sentiment in the market. And Jess, I just want to point out that you literally, you couldn't have been any more accurate with your prediction when we spoke last week. Are we going to be nearing 12 in the next few days?
So I think we're really close to 12. I check now. I think we're sitting at 11,630. So
that's so exciting. We're going to obviously really focus on prices, discuss that. We're going to also talk about LedgerX and Bakkt and just run through those as well. So Jess, I know you've been really watching the market. Is this purely supply and demand? Is this hype? What is it that's actually, what do you think is causing this run at the moment?
I think it's a combination of a couple of things. So I think it's supply and demand. A lot of people are, not taking profit. They're holding on to their Bitcoin. They're holding on to their crypto. It's a bit like 2017. I think it could almost work out as a mini 2017 situation. All these unrealized profits and gains from this year could be wiped out in a matter of weeks because nobody wants to take profits, and it's basically a continuous chase of euphoria. So I think that's it's a combination. I also think that with the whole Libra project, a lot of people are interested in finding out what crypto is. They've probably seen it on the news.
Yeah, I feel like Libra has really, really helped. It's interesting if you actually see the Google trends of the week. Pretty much everyone is Googling either cryptocurrency, Facebook's coin, or Bitcoin. And what is really interesting is I was having a look at that this morning, and that is only 10% of the Google analytical trends of the 2017 bull market. So we've started to get that interest, but it's not quite at that same level yet. However, I heard something yesterday about those three words are Googled right now more than the Kardashians or more than Donald Trump. So that puts it into a little bit of perspective, which is amazing. So it's really, it's great to see the hype back. Yeah, but also we do want to, be able to sustain prices as well. So yeah, it's interesting distinguishing at the moment, and in any bull market, is it hype? Is it true value?
Yeah,
and trying to work that out.
And I think, the future in terms of price, I think we've got two scenarios on our hands. So the first one, for example, once Bakkt is live, I think a lot of others will follow. But then we have an open playing field of institutions officially in the market ready to rumble. So we've got to take into consideration, do you think that they're going to buy Bitcoin at these prices? I highly doubt it. And the more I look into this, it seems like we've pushed right into the trap of the institutional hands. And this would then also align with a much lower price as we close out in 2019. So that's a possible scenario. like I said, it could almost work out as like a mini 2017 situation with all those profits, no one wanting to take profit, and that continuous chase of euphoria, like I mentioned earlier. So it's just a theory, but it makes pretty good sense. I think we are overdue a correction. I mean, it's hard to say because the price just keeps, pumping up. It's become.
Do you think we'll be able to hit 20 within the next month or two?
We could. So this is where the second scenario comes in. So roughly around 11,400, 500 sits basically precisely is that monthly 78.6 fib level. From a monthly perspective, it holds quite a bit of validity. But should we see a solid break above this, I think 13 is potentially next.
I just want to cover Bakkt a little bit for people who are not up to speed with it just yet. So essentially, Bakkt is a company and they haven't got their CFTC approval just yet, but there's the two functions with Bakkt. So it is a physically, it's a regulated physical Bitcoin futures warehouse. So literally one Bitcoin is backed, one Bitcoin contract is backed by a Bitcoin and stored in Bakkt's warehouse. So that's a pretty amazing concept. I think that's going to just bring a lot of it's going to give a bit of a mental mind shift and just give people confidence, just knowing that that security is there. And, it just kind of opens up for trust and user adoption in terms of the digital asset space. And the other really interesting thing about Bakkt is the fact that they're also driving user adoption in terms of spending. So I think we all know that their major partner is Starbucks, and you could also say Microsoft as well with their Azure platform. So Starbucks, as soon as Bakkt get their approval, will be accepting Bitcoin in all of their stores. I don't know if it'll be I shouldn't say not all of their stores. I don't know if that's going to be worldwide, but a large chunk of their stores are going to start accepting Bitcoin as a payment. So it's interesting because I think every time we speak to people about spending cryptocurrency, everyone always goes back to their cup of coffee. They just want to be able to buy their morning cup of coffee with Bitcoin. It's like that first step. It's a lot of people's daily purchase. It's a small amount and it's a day-to-day purchase as well. So that's pretty cool that, that just brings that into people's day-to-day lives. It's not a transaction you think about. It's just a quick little tap and go. It's not something you ever need to put any thought into buying your morning cup of coffee. So I think that's huge, having driving that adoption, and also with partnering with Microsoft and using their Azure platform, that's going to open it up to so many more merchants as well. So you've really got those two elements with Bakkt, having the institutional money pouring in, having their physically backed Bitcoins, but then also having the merchant adoption as well. So I know you've done a little bit of research on LedgerX. While we're on the topic, do you want to just run through that and explain how that works as well?
So actually a couple of hours ago, there was news about LedgerX. So the US Commodity Futures Trading Commission is giving LedgerX the go ahead to basically launch physically backed Bitcoin futures. So yeah, the approval sets the stage for the Bitcoin futures product in the US that's going to be actually paid out in Bitcoin. And although Chicago Board Options Exchange and the CME launched Bitcoin futures in late 2017, those contracts are entirely settled in fiat. So that's pretty interesting.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, and both retail traders and institutional investors will be able to invest in the new Bitcoin futures contracts from LedgerX. And although there's no date yet, the company is pushing to roll out the product as soon as possible. So, yeah, I think we are seeing a massive amount of exposure to the markets at the moment, which is great.
It's hard to actually tell because even since you and I started preparing for this video today and started recording, price has been moving so crazily. And it'd be interesting to know how much of that is actually tied to that announcement or not,
Yeah.
because it's just, there's so much going on in the space right now, which is making it so exciting. Yeah, you can't even tell. Whereas if they'd announced that 3 months ago and there was a spike, we would all be able to, account it to that.
Yeah, yeah. In terms of fundamentals, it's actually pretty hard to fundamentally analyze cryptos, especially when there's so much happening. For example, there was Kraken have just raised, I think, just over $13 million in their latest fundraising round. Then we've got this LedgerX. We've got things happening in India. We've got just so much happening within the markets, Libra, all of that. So I think, we are seeing huge price movement.
And it's interesting, I know when you and I were talking earlier, you told me that they only intended on raising 10 million. So it's pretty amazing they just so easily shot past that target in such a short space of time. It really does show and highlight what the hype is right now and how many people are willing to invest and back projects again. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. It is really, really good. So I think we are going to see lots of positive news coming out of the space. I think things are really starting to kick off, which is good. It almost feels like the beginning of 2017 again. I'm hoping we don't see the massive price movement like we did see in 2017, purely because it's not a healthy or sustainable market. So I think that's key. But in the past couple of days, we have pretty much seen price move, and I'm watching price right now, and it's 11,000.
I can see you looking at it. Yeah,
11,700. So it's really pushing upwards.
It's pretty crazy to think we were just trying to break 10. I mean, we did our last video 5 days ago and we were so excited for it to break 10. And now that's such old news already.
I know. And I still remember you saying to me, do you think it's going to break 10? And I was like, well, I think so. And if it breaks 10, it's going, straight to above 11. And I mean, now we're sitting at 11,700. So we'll have to see what happens.
Message me after that video and talk about your prediction and say, Jess was on the money. So yeah, that's pretty cool for the first video to be so accurate. You just have to keep that up now, okay?
I know, no pressure, hey?
Well, anyway, it was great filming with you again, and thank you to everyone who tuned in. Like we just said, there's so much going on, so we're going to probably prepare another video within the next few days. So have a great week, everyone, and hopefully when we chat next, it's up around 12 or 13. Who knows where it'll be.